Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. We've had a couple of days of rain and cold, but today it's sunny and warm, so I'm back to work putting wood chips around the greenhouse. I'm putting down a good layer of wood chips around the greenhouse, and I've got my pathway here between the pear tree and the greenhouse all made. Around the back of the greenhouse here, I'm building it up with wood chips. So I've got a little way to go. If you look at this side, I've got to build up over in this area. This morning I took the truck out and got another load of wood chips. Here's a look at the wood chips I got this morning. They're really nice ones. They're spruce, pine, and cedar. They smell fantastic. It's just this beautiful sweet smell. So it was getting really muddy around my bonsai area, so these wood chips will be fantastic. It keeps your feet dry. You're not walking through muck or anything, and you don't track muck into the greenhouse, so fantastic. I've got all the tropical trees either in the plastic greenhouse down here or the glass greenhouse, so it's quite full. Here it is. We'll go inside. Oh, it's nice in here. Oh, it's just beautiful in here. Let's see the temperature. It is 16 degrees Celsius or some unreadable number. I think that's 51 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know why that doesn't work, but anyway, yeah, you can see on the thermometer at the end there that it's about, 15. So yeah, really nice in here. I've got the mister. I come in here and I just spray all the trunks and the ficus, encouraging those aerial roots to form. Keep the humidity levels high in the greenhouse here. I'm working on getting the back area of the greenhouse all cleaned up. I had a big skid here that had the concrete and mortar on it. I got a lot of bricks and stuff that I'm clearing out so I can put more wood chips down in this area. I've got the area behind the greenhouse all cleaned up so I can put some more wood chips down this area. I've got the sides wood chipped in. Almost done anyway. I got a little more up top. But yeah, that'll help kind of keep the foundation a little warmer. Some insulation in the winter time. I've got the wood chips all the way around the greenhouse now, so that'll help stop weeds growing up. When it rains, it won't splash up on the glass. They won't get dirt splashing up. So yeah, pretty nice. Greenhouse looks like it's been here forever, doesn't it? It's all the way here. I've got to prune this bush back a bit. And back to the front. Yeah, I've got to prune this kind of gooseberries back a bit. A little more room there. And that's pretty well it. I still have to put my caps on the roof there. Hopefully I'll get time for that. I don't have much in the way of fall colors yet on the large forest. It's still quite green. You can see it's a lighter green than the thuja forest, the Avatar Grove, but yeah, no real yellows or anything in it yet. Just kind of a lighter shade of green, I guess. The tarp that I used to cover the concrete up is drying in the sun. I'll fold that up and put it away for the year. I've got 2 skids to take back to the concrete place, so I'll do that now. I was really inspired by that giant American elm that I visited the other day, and I think today I'm going to work on my bonsai version of an American elm. Here's a look at my miniaturized American elm. You can see it has a single trunk. It divides into 2. The left side is a little weak and the right side is a little strong. It's not too balanced, but it does have the kind of overall structure of a typical American elm, sort of that martini glass style or umbrella style or wine glass style, some people call it. But yeah, so kind of coming up from the trunk and then sweeping outwards in a sort of umbrella style canopy. So it has that style, it's just not that developed. I'll rotate the tree around so you can see it from all angles. This tree just grew in the front garden all by itself. I didn't plant it or anything. And I tried to keep it under control, but they're fast growers and it just shot up. So I had to do a lot of hard pruning, and I'm not sure if it'll ever heal. I'll show you that scar on the back. There it is there. You can see the big scar. Maybe someday it'll heal. I don't know. But there's not much I can do about it other than just keep it at the back. There is one branch on it that I think could be improved. I'll turn it back to the front. Looking up at the tree, you can see this side of the trunk comes up, and then there's a branch here and one over here, and then there's a really thick one coming up the middle. Now I have cut that off and I have a new leader there, but I just think this thick part here is too thick for being that high up in the canopy. So I'm thinking of cutting it off, keeping this branch and making this sort of a V section here. I think that would improve the branching in the upper canopy. When this tree was in the ground in the front garden, it was buried in the soil up to about here. So this was all underground. And you can see how the bark is much smoother than the bark that was exposed to the air. And it was also kind of skinnier. It was kind of undercut where it went below the soil line. So I'm hoping in future this bark will eventually catch up to this bark and match it. It's already starting to crack in several places. So I think it's just a matter of time before this bark kind of matches the character of the bark in the upper part of the trunk. I will eventually be defoliating the tree. It's had most of its fall color and now it's kind of looking, I don't know, a little sparse. So I'm going to finish that and also do a final pruning to it to get it ready for spring. All right, I'm ready to begin the pruning of this branch here. I'm going to use this pull saw. It's a Japanese saw, and I think I can get in there nicely. I might just remove a few leaves so that they're not blocking the view of the camera here. Like that. I think you can see in there now. So I want to come down here. And hopefully, you know, it won't leave a horrendous looking scar. Hopefully it's reasonable. I'll try and angle it towards the back a bit. So, let me just turn it a bit here so I can get in. And here I go. So I'm going to come in right here and prune it back. So this is a sharp knife. You just pull it, and hopefully I can cut through here. I think this will improve the upper canopy a lot. I always didn't like that big thick part in the upper canopy. Thought it always spoiled it. While I'm cutting this, I'll just show you that American Elm, that one I visited on Saturday. I'll show you a recap of that. It's a beautiful tree, and If I can get this bonsai version anywhere close to that, I'll be very happy, because I think it was just spectacular. I'm walking up to it now, and it is very old. The branches are really thick up there. It's amazing. Wow. What an incredible tree. Look at all those multi-branches and trunks coming up there. Wow. An absolutely enormous canopy. Just amazing. Okay, there it goes. I have cut through. Let's have a look from the front now. Here's a look at the tree now from the front view. I think that looks much, much better. A lot lighter in that upper canopy. I'm happy with that. I'm going to mark the front and then I'll start the pruning. I'll try this little cedar branch. I think that'll be good. Here's a look at the size of the branch I took off. Fairly large. I'm going to start pruning the upper canopy now, getting that umbrella shape, kind of copying that style of the American elm that was out in the middle of that field. I think that'll look really nice. I'm going to start with the large shears just to roughly prune that umbrella shape. So here I go, just kind of rounding it. You know, a rough pruning to kind of get the basic shape. And then you go in and you refine it. That's looking better. Okay, let me see that from the front now. That's not bad. I could come in a little more up front here. Kind of ruthless pruning, but you have to do it to get that the right shape. Otherwise, it just gets too kind of out of shape. Okay. I think that's just about perfect. I've got the right canopy shape, so now I'm going to go in and do some more pruning on some of these longer branches just to kind of fix my structure. Make sure every branch is divided from 1 into 2, kind of like that. And then fixing up a lot of these lower branches too. I'm going to start the pruning now, and I've got this branch that hangs down and it kind of crosses right across the trunk line. So I know I left it before and I think I pruned it back to here and it's kind of grown more. I don't want to take it off totally because it's a nice branch. It just hangs down a little too far. I think I'll take it off here, like that. Kind of, you know, keeps a bit of it in the canopy area. So the rest, it'll be a matter of following each branch. So here's one coming off from the bottom and it's kind of reaching up through the canopy. So I'll prune that one back. Shorter to here, this one to here. Take the stub off the end. That's a nice branch now. Here's one here coming out, coming straight towards the front of the tree. Divides, so I'll take it off. There's one growing straight upwards. I'm going to remove that one and then I'll prune it back to here. That shortens that branch. I'll even prune this part off of it to kind of direct it more out, flat and horizontal. Here's one that's crossing across, you know, the canopy here. So I don't really need it, but I'm wondering, should I just take it right off? I think so. I'll shorten it back to there and then to there. And this one I can just shorten. There's ones up here I can shorten. Shorten this one like that. So a lot of it is just pruning up the new growth, kind of bringing it back more compact And I'll do defoliation while I'm at it. Just get rid of all the old leaves. They're pretty well ready to fall off anyway. I'll keep working away at the canopy, you know, using directional pruning. Pruning back to buds that are facing the direction I want the new branch to grow in. Defoliating while I'm going. Here's another branch that kind of comes up and grows across the design instead of flowing outwards, so I'm going to have to do some pruning there. I think I'll have to remove that whole section off. So here I go. Like that. A big cut, but I think that'll improve the whole look of it eventually. Okay. Well, I think I haven't touched these lower branches coming off the trunk yet. I think I'd better remove them because if I let them grow, you know, I'll get another scar, and I don't want scars all over the trunk. So off they come. And I think there's some up the back. Now I think this one's okay. I can let that grow up into this space. So I'll keep that one. It's high enough. But this one down here is too low. So that cleans that up, the trunk line. I'm out front now having a look at the branch structure. So I have a branch right here that kind of crosses over these other two. And I was thinking, well, do I need to remove that? And then I started thinking, well, if I remove that, it starts to look very contrived. Everything kind of flows out. You know, there's no crossing branches or anything. It starts to look closer to an artificial looking tree. So I thought, well, maybe I should leave that in because, I mean, you see that in nature all the time, branches kind of crisscrossing each other like that. I think it looks fine. I think it fills in that spot, and as I said, it looks natural. The other branch, it's quite heavy here. I've got a lot of branches coming off. Definitely maybe some of those hanging branches will come off in the future, but for now I'll leave them. Kind of strengthen up the tree a bit. I think I'm a little high here on the canopy and maybe the other side. I need it a little more rounded, so I'll look at pruning that. That's a little better. You have to remember that, you know, the size it is now, it's going to grow next year. So it's going to, you know, expand by how much it grows, your canopy. So it's going to get quite a bit larger. So if that's the size you want your finished canopy, you've got to prune it back like 10 or 15% shorter than that. So when the new growth comes in, it is to the size you want it. So I think it's okay. I think this size is fine. I think I'm done the pruning. My next task on the tree is, if you look at the trunk, you can see a lot of lichen on it. And the lichen makes it look old. It's, you know, a sign of maturity for sure. But it's obscuring the bark texture. It's getting so thick that, you know, even on the branches, it's getting big flakes of lichen on it. So I need to scrub all that off. It'll regrow again, but it's just getting too thick, obscuring the bark, so I'm going to brush it off. I'm just using water and an old toothbrush. And I'll just come in and brush the trunk down, rubbing off the lichen. That's working well. It's keeping the bark texture and just getting rid of the lichen. It's probably a good idea to soak down the lichen first, so I'll do that. I'll spray the tree with the rainwater, get it soaking, and it'll make it easier to brush off. All right, I'll spray it all down. Even these upper branches are getting a lot of lichen on them. We'll have to clean those too. Oh, there's our ladybug, still crawling around. Okay, back to scrubbing away. There's even moss growing in this area of the trunk here. So I'm really exposing the bark texture, which is quite nice. It was totally hidden. You can see it there, how you can see all that nice bark. A little bit of lichen's okay, but when it gets too thick, it's just too much. It was funny when I took those skids back to the concrete place. I took the cat with me in the truck and she sat on the front seat beside me and just purred away and was rolling around. She didn't mind the trip at all. So the bark is quite stable. Not much of it is coming off with this brushing. Just the occasional, loose flake, but it's probably good to get rid of those anyway because, insects could overwinter in those cracks. But yeah, it's pretty tough, this bark. It's not like flaking off as I scrub it, which is good. So lichen just feeds on the dead layer of bark that's on the outside. So it doesn't harm the tree. It can obscure buds if it gets too thick. So light doesn't get to the bud and it may not come out. So, it can have a bit of a detrimental effect, but generally it's pretty harmless stuff. There's a look at some of the lichen that's in the upper canopy. You can see it all on the branches here. So that's got to get cleaned off. Here's a look at the elm now. It looks quite different with the lichen scrubbed off the bark. I'm going to let it dry now and see what it looks like. The tree is in the sun now. So it should dry fairly quickly. I didn't repot the elm this spring. I'll have to check the soil and see how root bound it is. And if it's starting to get root bound, I'll repot it this coming spring and, get those roots further refined. It's come a long way since I dug it up. It was a horrible root system and now it's starting to get a little nicer. It is just absolutely beautiful in the greenhouse right now. Oh, does that ever feel good? So it's about 22 degrees Celsius, or let's see what that is. Oh, no, let me see here. It's about 71 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's just beautiful in here. I think I just fogged the lens up. And humid too. So it just feels fantastic. The plants love it in here, especially on a sunny day. All right, out we go. I saw the movie Dune the other day. I was hoping there'd be some kind of cool plant life in it, that I could make a Dune-inspired bonsai. Scott Winard saw it first in the UK, and he told me there's bonsai in it. So that was really exciting. So I saw it. I'll show you some of the bonsai in the movie, just some screenshots. And there was even some Portulacaria afra in the movie, which was kind of exciting. I didn't know Portulacaria afra came from Arrakis or Dune. So those were some screenshots of some of the plant life in the movie Dune, the new movie. And speaking of desert plants, I was checking on my lithops this morning and something had been digging in them. Probably a mouse or something got in the greenhouse. All right, so here's one of them. It's good and firm. It's got roots on the bottom, which is good. So I'll put it back in the same pot. And I'll move them to the new greenhouse. That one's sealed up so no rodents can get in. There we go. So they're all replanted. Now I think I'm going to give them a misting. They're definitely on the dry side. All right, here I go with the mist. That should be good. And I'll put them in the new greenhouse, the glass greenhouse. Okay, in they go. On the outside of the greenhouse here, I have a ladybug crawling up, and I also have a snail here. Huh. So I've got the lithops in the full sun here. You can see them in there. So they should do really, really well. And no more sandworms will get them. Right now in the greenhouse, it's over 30 degrees Celsius and it's 79 degrees Fahrenheit. So quite warm, and it's about 80% humidity, so perfect for the ficus. You can see as the sun gets lower in the horizon how the shadow of the fence comes across and hits the lower part of the greenhouse here. So I tried to move the greenhouse as far back as I can to keep it in the sun, and I think the benches will stay in the sun. It's warm enough in the greenhouse today that the vent has actually opened up. Amazing. The trunk on the American elm is dried in the sun here. So here's a look at it now. I think my American elm made good progress forward today, taking out that thick part in the upper canopy, pruning it back to size. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.